Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh for my fellow panel. My name is Laila Ridzuan. My meeting number is 0193414557. Okay, for my research title is Comparison of Emotional Response on Acute and Chronic Injury Among Charisma Athlete UiTM Singapore. We proceed with the chapter 1, Introduction. For my background of study, as we know, emotion have many various factors that can affect our behavior. So, Clement 2015 say, the athlete will often experience and range of true emotion and feeling, which may have an effect on athlete behavior and vice versa. Example, behavior can affect emotion and emotion can affect our condition. Condition is the mental process of action that requires a knowledge or situation what's going on. So, the other studies say, athlete who is injured may be affected not only physically, but emotionally and behaviorally as well. McDonald and Hardy 2016. They have many factors can affect our behavior, such as the type of their training, the type of injury state, and the psychological factor. So the purpose of this study is to see they have a comparison or not in emotional response on type of injury. For my statement of problem, they have three issues. The first issue is, by Act 1996 say, athletes who have a minor injury do not experience the same type of severity of emotional response. And Young 2010 say more severely injured athletes that are more experienced in emotional response. In contrast, depend on type injury and athlete participant in sport after injury, Snyder 2006. There have many significant difference on this study, so I will investigate either they have a significant difference on type of acute or chronic injury among athletes. Okay, for my research objective, have three research objectives. The first one is to identify the emotional response on acute injury among charisma athlete UiTM Singapore Pahang. Okay, for the research objective 2, to identify the emotional response on a chronic injury among charisma athlete UiTM Singapore Pahang. And for my last research objective is to compare the emotional response on acute and chronic injury among charisma athlete UiTM Singapore Pahang. To literature review, okay, the first one is type of emotional. Stress 2003 say, sometimes when athletes get injured, they forget the other things such as true and behavior because too much focus on the injury part until they experience emotion without realizing it. Because they're thinking that they think they cannot able to play the sport anymore. So the emotion can divide by two. They can be positive emotion and negative emotion, such as anger, depression, in pain or shock. For type of injury, RAIHAN 2011 say injury on acute and chronic can be assigned with grade 1, 2 or 3 that determine whether the is mild, moderate or severe. So as we know, acute less than 3 weeks. So for chronic, we can know that they are above 4 weeks. So for the grade 1, we can see they have a mild pain and do not lose in tissue function. So for grade 2, they have a moderate pain. They have a sign and symptom. And then for the grade 3, for severe, they have a loss in pavement tissue. Okay. For the comparison emotion response, that can affect on psychological response and social support. Okay. Green 2018 say, athlete can suffer any one of the number of negative psychological stressor and at any point during the recovery process, and athlete can help speed up their recovery process by maintaining positive thinking and adhering to their specific rehabilitation program, and psychological skill can be used effectively to help the athlete recovery process and prevent future injury. Okay, that means when athlete think positive. They have a positive thinking. They can help to less the emotional response on their injury and their behavior. And then when the athlete maintain the emotional response, they can speed up fastly to recovery their injury. Okay, for social support also can affect athlete during their injured. So Young 2010 say social support is a very important part of the process in helping athlete return to play, because when they had not have a social support, they feel they are not important and to play important in the sport. Because the other studies say athletes with have a chronic injury, they have less emotional response because they satisfied with the surrounding social support, such as their athlete support, the athlete support their during their injured. Okay, for the last one, comparison emotional response on type of injury. So McDonald and Hardy 2016 say emotional reaction to injury such as type of emotional that affects self-esteem during the recovery process, because athletes think they cannot play sport anymore or to participate in any sport event. So athletes have a major injury. They have a major injury will have a great level of emotional compared to minor injury with shortened time of recovery process. It depends on injury will experience emotional response. Chapter 3 is methodology. Okay, for this study is quantitative data because it's numerical data by using questionnaire. So for my objective of this study is to compare the difference of emotional response between type of injury among athletes. Okay, for my research design, I use is a causal comparative because to look what is going on in comparison of emotional response on acute and chronic injury and the result of the study. So my population is charisma athlete you attempt ke. Okay, for this study they have a criteria. So the first one is exclusion criteria. That has been injured athlete will be taken in this study. So for exclusion criteria, the athlete has not been injured will be not taken in this study. Okay, for my sampling technique, the purposive sampling because this study has a portion certain train that have a criteria like I mentioned before. Athlete that has been injured only will be taken in this study. Okay, for number of sample, I referring to the table of Genji and Morgan 1917. So my sample is 18 sick people that given by Encik Mokras unit sukan UiTM Jengke. So after I get the sample, I will drop out with 20%. So 20% I multiply with 18 sick people. So the total is 17.2 people. So the 17.2 people I plus with 18 sick people. So the total is 103 people. So the total of the sample will be taken in this study is 103 people. Okay, this is my data collection procedure. So I have a 4 procedure. So the first one, I will briefly explain the purpose of this study and explain and all procedure involved. So I will explain to my respondent what I need in this study. Okay, for the second, I distribute the questionnaire by Google Form and separate the link via online, Gmail and WhatsApp because I cannot face to face with my responder because the COVID-19. Okay, for the third procedure, when I get the data, so I will analyze the data by using SPSS. So for the last procedure where I analyze data by using SPSS, I will interpret data and the result, I will see the result of the study. Instrumentation of the study, they have a 2 section. For the first section is the demographic. So the demographic contain the gender, age, level of education and major sport. For the section 2, use the questionnaire from Smith 1990. Is an emotional response of athlete to injury questionnaire ERIQ. So this questionnaire using the 5-point like scale, which is 1 is extremely not, 2 is a not, 3 is natural, 4 is so, and 5 is extremely so. Say there is a measurement of 11 specific emotions toward the injury of athlete, such as anger, in pain, shock, boring. So also ERQ also providing information regarding what type of injury, what sport athlete play, how long injury happen, and description of emotion feel sign the athlete get injured. Okay, for this questionnaire, they have a validity and reliability that providing by Smith 1919. The alpha value was found to be good is 0.94. Okay, for my data analysis, they are referring for my research objective. So for my research objective 1 is to identify the emotional response on acute injury among charisma athlete iaitu jangka faham. So I use the descriptive analyze. So for the research objective 2, to identify emotional response on acute injury among charisma athlete iaitu jangka. So I use the descriptive analysis. So for the last research objective, to compare the emotional response on acute and chronic injury among charisma athlete iaitu jangka, I use the PETI test. Okay, this is my chapter 4 result. Okay. After I analyze the data by using SPSS, this is my normal description. So for normal decision, I have 2 variables to check. The first is acute and the second is chronic. Okay, so this study using of chronograph enough because the sample more than 50%. Okay, for acute, the p-value is 0.001 and for chronic is 0.022. So the proof of this variable is less than 0.05. So when the both are less than 0.05, so they consider is not normal but need to refer value of stiffness and kurtosis. Okay, for value stiffness of acute is 0.648 and for the value of kurtosis are 0.409. Both value are plus minus 0 to 3. So for the chronic, the stiffness is 0.424 and the kurtosis is negative 0.044. So the both result of stiffness and kurtosis value indicate that the data were normal because the range of plus minus 0 to 3. So this assists the normality of description of emotional response and the type of injury. Through all the variables is the study were declared as a normal description. Okay, this is the result for PETI test. Okay. For PETI test reported they have a significant difference between emotional response and on type of injury, with p-value less than 0.05. Which 0.00. So when p-value less than 0.05, the null hypothesis was accepted. So in a conclusion, they have a significant difference between emotional response on type of injury. So emotional response reported had a significant higher than the type of injury as expected following by the type of emotion because the mean of the type of emotion is 9.336. Okay, this is after I interpret, that is the result of my study. Okay, for my last chapter is discussion. Okay, I need a support evidence to support my result. So, CLIP 2006 say it is preferable for any athlete to experience some emotional response to injury regardless injury severity and weakness. That means either the athlete are injured acute or chronic, they will experience the emotional response. In contrast, research also failed to find significant difference between injury and emotional, because the emotional response occur as a result of several possible variables other than gender, claiming 2015. So they cannot find the significant difference between type and emotional response. So my result, I have the same with the previous study at the 97. They say they have a significant difference between emotional response due to injury has been indicated. Okay, the findings suggest that it's probable for any athlete to experience some emotional response to injury. So, therefore, there's a rapid emotional reaction to injury among athletes, indicate that it's important for athletes, coach, and training staff to understand the psychological aspect for any injury. Alban, 1988. Okay, this is my references. I think that's all for my study research. I thank you for my panel to see my video presentation. I hope to see you guys toward on my Q&A session. Thank you so much and Assalamualaikum.